like I said, I have this recorded. I will be sending out my PowerPoint deck as well. That way you can have a refresher once you're back and working on your website on your own and have questions about it. So good afternoon. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Talia Vandervelden. I am the Field Marketing Manager in Austin. So it is so great to meet all of you. I'm super excited that everyone has introduced themselves in the chat and is eager to learn more about Moxi websites. So as you know, Moxi is a new product that just recently rolled out to all of Texas. There are a couple of new products that come with it, but today we are going to do our intro to the MoxiWorks websites. I just want to make sure everyone is aware that your local field marketing team is going to travel to every single office and offer an in-person website or Moxi Engage workshop in April. So if you are not aware of this, this is the announcement. Please, please, please get with your marketing team or your branch manager, SSA, to find out what date that is. I know all of the metros are actually totally fine if you attend at a different office location. So maybe it's more convenient for you because of a location or a scheduling conflict to attend at another office. So please do this in conjunction with these virtual classes that we're offering, because I know for a lot of us, it's a lot easier to learn in person because we can follow along on our computer as the information is being shared with us. So please keep an eye out for those trainings, and I hope to see you all there. And then the last caveat I will give is this is our very first virtual Moxi websites training. And so please bear with me, right? There may be some hiccups along the way because we are learning it as well as you. But if you have any questions at all, please go ahead, pop them in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and ask them at any time. I want this to be really informational and casual so that you feel like you're learning a lot along the way. So who is ready to get their websites going? All right, so we're going to start with our deck, and later on I will actually go live into the Moxi platform so that you can see all the changes being made in real time. So on today's agenda, we are going to be covering the initial setup of your new Moxi website, how to activate that site, and then how to make some basic customization options. So the cool thing about Moxi is it already comes with a number of amazing pages and features. So there's really minimal work on your end that you need to do to get it to a really good place. But I want to show you kind of those intro guides for how to get started on that. I also want to note that if you have a domain name that you own already, I'm going to be emailing out instructions for how to get that transferred over. So we are not going to cover it live today, but there are super easy step-by-step instructions. So don't feel like you're being left in the dark. We will send those over to you as well. All right, so let's start with our initial setup. So if many of you are following along on your computer, you may or may not have seen this screen already. And some of you may not have it because you've already checked this box and agreed to all the terms and conditions. But just know at some point along the way, you will see this and you'll have to agree to Moxi's terms and conditions to get your agent website with them as well. And then a couple of you are going to have the option to select a domain name. Okay, again, this may not be the case for every single one of you, but we like to show the screenshots in the event that you do come across this box. So some helpful tips and tricks are, if you are an individual agent, you'll want to select Agent Website from this little dropdown. If you are a team, you'll need to talk to your team lead about how they are going to plan to structure the team site. Many teams, the team lead is totally fine with you having your own website as well. So that's where you're going to need to have that conversation with them. If they're fine with you having your own site, then you choose the Agent Website option as well. If you are going to funnel all the team information into one condensed site, right, for the entire team, then you're going to choose the dropdown that says Agent Team Website. So there's just two options up here where this arrow is. And then step 2, if it gives you this prompt, that's where you're selecting a domain name. Okay, so it has to be all lowercase for your domain, and it cannot have any periods or special characters. So this will just be the front portion. So if it were me, I would personally choose Talia Vandervelden, because that's my name. That's how everyone knows me, right? As an agent, we're often most identifiable identifiable by our name, if not our team name. And so that's the kind of information you want to put there, because the end is kind of a standard end that comes with all Moxi sites. All right, if you're not prompted to do this, that is absolutely fine. I will show you where to figure out what your domain name is on your website. Okay, so that part is short and sweet. Let me just share my other screen real quick for y'all, and we are going to jump in live to an actual agent's website. So as you can see, I started on desk, and we'll walk you through the very beginning, and we have a MoxiWorks tile. So if you haven't been in lately, this did change names, and it might be a little confusing, and that's because we now have multiple products within this one tool. So I clicked on here, and here I'm going to see my agent roster tool. So we are focused on websites today. So I am going to go ahead and click on this My Website button at the very top of the screen. And that is how we get to the Moxi websites part of Moxi. And here it's going to load. And my tip that I always tell everyone is, when you see this black bar on the left side, you're in editing mode. This is your admin view, right? This is kind of the back side of the website that only you as the administrator on your website can see. All right, so these are going to be on the right side, the common tasks. So they make it really easy for you. They've already laid out the key details that you need to go through with some nice little links on how to get there to have a really effective website. This left side is your navigation bar, and that's how you're going to navigate through all the different parts of your website if you choose to make any edits. So one tip I want to show you is just how to see your website, right? Everyone's like, okay, cool, I got this new site. Well, where do I see it? Here in the very top left corner, there is a Visit Site button. This is always going to be visible to you when you're in editing mode. So I'm going to click on that because I want to show you what a website looks like after it has been made and kind of templatized so that you see what you've got going on, right? So you can see that every agent website, the template version, is going to have a nice header image at the top. It's going to have text, a search bar, your contact information. And then it's already going to come with a neighborhood news section, buying and selling, and some property options, as well as an about dropdown. Now this agent has customized theirs a little bit, so we'll cover some of that later, but you can see how amazing it is from the get-go, right? It has a great image, and it looks like you could send a consumer to it already, right? And we haven't done anything. This is what everyone's is going to look like, minus one page or two. So there we have your consumer-facing website. You see we don't have a black bar, so we know that this is a consumer view of the site versus the editing view. Now to get back, because I want to actually make edits to the site, I find in the same location an admin home button. So again, top left corner, we are going to click on that and we'll be taken back to the view where we see the black bar and all of our handy links. Okay. So the most important thing about a site is people being able to visit it, right? So we are going to start with what's called an SSL certificate. So under common tasks, you're going to click on apply an SSL certificate and go there. Again, this site has already been activated, but I want to show you once it's done, you're going to see the two green checkboxes for SSL is enabled on your site and an SSL certificate was detected. So if you don't see these two green arrows, there's going to be a blue box that you can click and it will prompt you to enable the SSL. And then as soon as you get the green arrows, you'll know you're good to go. Okay, again, this is the kind of thing that's super easy in our in-person training. And when I send out the slide deck, you can just follow along and check on that SSL certificate to make sure yours is activated. So that's the number one thing for site security. Because if we don't enable that, they may get an error message saying the site is not safe when they land on it. And I'm sure we've all landed on sites like that, right? And we're like, what is going on with this website? It's not letting me do what I need to do because it says it's unsafe. All right. So next we are going to go over a section about teams. So at the very beginning of the session, I talked about selecting the agent team website versus the agent website. So this only applies to teams now. So while we're in this blue settings bar, we're going to scroll all the way down to site type. And here, if you've made the wrong selection, this is where you update it. So this is an individual agent. So his says agent website. However, if you chose to funnel everything into one website and have a team website, there is a drop down here for agent team website. So we would simply click that and hit update. I'm just going to leave it as is so we don't screw up his site, but that is under site type beneath settings. All right. So we've covered kind of the basic preliminary setup, right? We now have a secure site because we've have our SSL enabled. And then we made sure our site type was correct, right? That we have an agent website versus an agent team site. I call that kind of the boring stuff. Now let's move on to the fun customization elements. So again, here we're going to click back on home at the very top of the black bar because I want to see my most important tasks under this common tasks list because that's where we know we need to start when we're editing our website. So the first thing we're going to do is the very first bullet, right? It's personalize our site's style. So we're going to click on go there, and it's going to prompt us to do a couple of selections. The first selection is color palette at the top. You see it defaults to company default, which is the far left option. The alternative option is Coldwell Banker Global Luxury. So if you are a certified Coldwell Banker Global Luxury agent, you may select the middle option. If not, everyone else needs to select the left. The left is going to be our beautiful blue design. The middle option is going to be the beautiful black and white Global Luxury. So they both look fantastic. You just make your selection based on your certification. Next is the homepage layout. So again, this is our entry-level course. So we are selecting between our two options here. The first is search focused. So that means I, as a consumer, land on your site and my primary goal is to search for a property. My secondary thing that I'm going to notice is going to be you as the agent. Okay. On the flip side, you can select an agent-focused website. This means that the primary point of the website, right, is showcasing you as an agent, and search would be secondary. So there's no right or wrong answer. These are just your two options. In my experience, I've seen people tend to pick search focused because they want the client to peruse the site a little bit more, find what listings are for sale, actually use it a little bit. So they've liked the search focus, but again, entirely up to you. So then we hit this publish button, and those are the two selections that we have on here. So the question in chat is, what about the color on the right side? So are you referring to this custom option here, Alexander?
Yes.
Okay.
It says current admin office.
Yes, this is, we do not make that selection, admin office. This is just for like staff and managers. So as an agent, you do not select that office, or excuse me, that option. But that is a great question. So only the two on the left. And same with down here, we're only between search focused and agent focused. This custom option is the very advanced version of this class that we're not going to cover today.
Thank you. And
yeah, great question.
Alex, please.
Alex, perfect. Thank you. All right. Any other questions on the homepage style? Pretty easy peasy, right? You're making two choices, not too hard. All right. So the next thing we're going to move on to is what I will tell y'all is probably the least fun. Anyone that's taken my class already knows we don't like this part because it's the legal and compliance, but it's the required part because we don't want to land in Trek jail, as Joanne Justice would call it. So we are on appearance. You can see in the blue bar tells us what section we're on. We actually all need to modify our footers to include our TREC Consumer Protection Notice and our IABS form. Okay, so again, we're not going to do it together right now, but I just need to reiterate the importance of not landing in TREC jail and making sure we link these forms here. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click footer because that's the thing we're going to edit. All right, and I apologize, I should have picked someone who hadn't edited their footer yet, but you are going to select between the default footer and the custom footer. There's only two options when you first log in. So we will say custom footer, and then we'll hit the blue update button. After the footer has been saved as a custom footer, this blue text will appear for the first time. And it's going to say customize it or edit it. So now that we first have to tell the system, are we doing a default or are we doing custom? After we've told it that, it says, okay, thank you. I know we're doing a custom footer. So let's edit the custom footer. So I'm going to come in and click the blue letters to actually start editing. And this will help y'all see what editing mode looks like. All right, so this can be a little deceiving on here, right? You're like, oh my gosh, what do I do? All I see is the footer of my website. But the cool thing is we are in editing mode now. So when I'm hovering over these little sections, you see the blue boxes pop up. Each section of either text or an image has its own blue box around it because that's its concentrated content. Okay, so we are not going to touch anything except this section. So terms of use, privacy policy, accessibility statement, and fair housing notice are all defaulted onto your site. So what we'll want to do is we'll click into here, and this little pop-up is going to appear. Now, I don't know about y'all, but this is kind of small and very hard to see. So we are going to use our handy dandy dragging tool so that we can actually see what we're working on. And again, he already has his on here, but I'm actually going to show y'all how to make it a little bit better. So the TREC website will pull up in a new tab. Let's see, we can pull up directly from the TREC website and we'll just link there. So let me pull that up for y'all. So this is the form. So one option for you is actually to link directly to this website. Okay, to me, this is the easiest because TREC is always going to keep the most up-to-date form right here. So I would come in here and I would click on the URL. And again, these will all be in their notes, so don't worry about following along. And you can see he put his down here, but I think it's actually easiest to come up here and we're going to keep the formatting. So we're going to now type in Texas Real Estate Commission. Let's see if I can spell today. Consumer Protection Notice. And for some reason, it kept my link from before. So we want to break that link, no problem. Now we see there's no link associated with it. I will highlight my new letters. And this is just like a Word doc. I know it looks really complicated, but I promise you it's not. Just like in Word, if we're wanting to hyperlink something, we just click this little link option. And we're going to hit the paste button. And I'll tell y'all a little tip that I've learned. If you click the little gear icon right here, we can say open our link in a new tab. We don't want anyone to get sidetracked from what they're doing. We want them to be able to stay on your website, but if they wanted to pull up the TREC form, they can. So we simply hit update there and we're good to go. So I'm actually going to take his off since I've fixed that there. And you see, as easy as that was, I can hit save. And now we have the Texas Real Estate Commission Consumer Protection Notice. Okay, so it's kind of hidden in the top, but this top right corner is a blue done button. And you'll notice the navigation on the site is always the same. So done is always going to be in the top right corner. And now I can hit either save it as a draft mode or publish. So we'll go ahead and hit publish. All right, so that's the least fun part, but the most legal, necessary, compliant part. And you would just replicate that same process for the IABS form as well. All right, any questions on that? I know that was a lot of information and I know it's not fun, but we really just have to do it sometimes.
I have a question.
Sure.
The IABS form, the consumer protection form, I like the way you got it linked that way. On the IABS, where would you suggest it be linked?
Alex, you're asking all the great questions. I love it. So this is a good thing to note. Your IABS form is unique to you. You have signed it, your manager has signed it, and our broker of record has signed it. So you're going to have to download your PDF. Many of you have it on zip forms. You're going to have to save it into the cloud, which is either in Google Drive or maybe your Microsoft OneDrive or a Dropbox account. So somewhere in the cloud that you can access it. And then you're going to create a shareable link of that PDF and use that on here. So again, we know it's a little bit complicated. So when we send this out, we're going to send instructions on how to do all of that. And if you can't figure it out on your own, when you come to our in-person trainings, we'll be able to help you with that as well.
All right. The reason why I ask is I did that once before with my company OneDrive, and I had to sever the link at some time in the past because it seemed to not work. It wanted authorization and this, that, and the other, and you had to go through 15 different things. Well, maybe not that many, but you get my point. You had to go through
Sure.
several things in order for them to see it, and I'm going, it's not one click, so Trex is not going to like that.
Great point. So when you share a link from somewhere on the cloud, you have to change your viewing options. So sometimes, like when I share a link within our company, it's going to say anyone with a company email address can open it. But you can change it to a setting that says anyone with the link so that any public person, public consumer could click on it and access it immediately. So you just need to be sure you change your link settings when you share it to allow for anyone to view it.
Thank you.
Because I understand that's a pain.
I must have missed that part. All right.
There's a lot. Yeah. So great question. Awesome. Okay, so we're done with the non-fun part of this class. Now we get to move on to the actual customization. So we are going to come back. So you can see again, we are on the consumer view. So I'm going to come back to admin home because I need to get back to my editing screen. And next, we're going to modify the features on the home page. So here, this is bullet number 2, personalize your home page. We're going in order now. And this is going to take us to some fun options. Okay, so the first thing is the title of the page. Should you choose to call it something else, you could change the name. The second fun part is the single image. So like we saw on the preview, this beautiful Coldwell Banker stock photo showed up on here. But I highly recommend you change this to make it personal to you. So I'm going to click upload or choose an image. And here on this pop-up screen, you have a few options. So adding files from your computer is highly recommended if you have a beautiful listing photo that you want to showcase. Okay, so think of your most beautiful listing and add that there. Or maybe you've taken an awesome picture around town of like downtown or a beautiful park and you think that would be nice to display on the homepage. That's where you add it. However, they want to make sure you're not stealing pictures online, right? You can't just Google a nice picture and save it and upload it because that's copyright. So they make sure you check the box to confirm that this is a photo you, in fact, have the rights to use. And then we'll go to select files and it's going to let you pick a picture from your computer. So that's option 1. Now, many of you may not have a beautiful listing photo handy, or you may be a buyer's agent, and that's totally fine. Here we go to image gallery. So it's our second tab, and we have photos to use that are not restricted by copyright. So we will not get in legal trouble. So we come through and you just find a photo that looks like where you live. We understand these are not all Texas photos, so you really want to take a look, but we've got our nice cactus and a sunset if we want. We want to take a look and find a property photo that fits the Texas vibe, right? So just go through here. A lot of these interior photos are great. And once you've selected one, you click the little circle. And in the bottom corner, it says select for custom area. So that's that blue button. Again, they're all blue to save, and that will save it to your computer or your website. All right. The other thing to note is after you've added your own picture, the third tab is going to say Image Library. This will be where all your saved photos are that you've added to any part of the website. So maybe you want to go back to an old photo you had used in the past. We've saved it for you here, and it makes it really easy to use. All right, does that seem easy enough? Everyone can grab a free stock photo from the gallery, or they can upload their own picture. So easy peasy. After we've made our selection, the image will upload in the top right corner. And then here is text color. So this text, as we saw, displays over the top of your image. If your image is a light color, I recommend starting with black. If your image is a dark color, you want to start with white. You want to make sure there's enough contrast. However, as soon as you save, you can always see how it looks on the site and then make that change as needed. This background effect will help add a little bit more contrast. So you just want to take a look at it and see what the options are for lightening and darkening the text, just to make sure it pops on top of your picture. Next up is headline. So find your dream home, that's a default option for the top of the search bar. As you saw, I've also used find your dream home in Central Texas, or find your next place to call home. Find your next home in Austin, find your next home in Dallas. You know, the options are endless, but make sure it's something that you like, and you can type it in here and we'll carry on. So we're going to skip a few sections because, again, I have created this class to be the intro guide. We don't need to necessarily go through every single section to make a beautiful site. So if you're wondering why I'm skipping over a few, it's because I don't think they're necessary to get you up and running with your site in our intro class. So we're now going to scroll down to the profile settings section. You're going to see that it's pulled in your contact info from your Moxi profile. However, the beauty of this website is you can change any of it, and it only changes on the Moxi website. It does not make changes anywhere else. So, for example, you'll likely want to add in your title if it's not already there. It's going to default typically to include your office phone number, your license number, and your office name. In my follow-up PowerPoint, you'll see I note that none of those are actually required. I think it's sometimes simpler and cleaner to take them off, right? We want to just put one phone number because we don't want them to get confused. Do they need to call the office? Do they need to call you? A consumer doesn't know what to do if they have your license number. It's not super helpful, right? So we want to think about those things that are necessary and only add what's necessary here. Here's another tip. You're not restricted to put the type of information in the field that it says. For example, in the license number field, I could write something else. I could write Platinum Top 50 Agent, which is an award here in Austin, right? They are just text boxes with suggestions. So when you change something, be sure to check the main page of your site to make sure it looks okay. But for the most part, they're all just text boxes that you can customize how you want. All right. Any questions on the profile settings? Nope, easy enough. Perfect. So the next thing I want to show is this welcome text option. So this is our editing mode. You can see it's just a big old blank Word doc. But I want to go back and I want to click visit site because I want to show y'all where this would actually show up. So on your home page of your site, there is this white space to the right of your agent contact information. This is where your welcome text will show. So if we come back, you can see these are all new tabs that I'm opening. I can just click the other tab, right? And I'm in my editing mode again because I see my black bar. If I choose to, I can add 1 to 2 short sentences as kind of a welcome to my website. I suggest something like, Talia Vandervelden is a licensed realtor in Central Texas and enjoys helping buyers, sellers, and investors. You know, something short and sweet, gets the point across, etc. However, you don't have to put any welcome text. Some people think it looks nice and clean without anything. So that is entirely up to you, but I just want you to be aware of where it would show up and what it would look like. Perfect.
Could you put a picture in there?
You can. Great question. So we go into this more in our advanced class, but we do have this add media option. So you can technically add a video or a picture in this spot if you choose to. And there's a few options here if you want to play around with adding that, but great question. Okay, perfect. So we're still on that home page. We're just scrolling our way down to fill in the most necessary sections of our homepage. So next we're in the featured properties module. So what these are pre-made MLS searches that will default to pull in listings from your MLS onto your homepage of your website. The default title is featured properties. And here is our property list of options. So you see, you can choose from your own active listings, your own sold listings, featured properties, your office's listings, your company's active listings, or your company's sold listings. Let me explain something. Your office is your office, right? You have your office name, you know all the people in your office. That's an easy one. Your company is going to be your metro's listings. So if you're in DFW, it's pulling in all of DFW offices listings and putting them on that list. Same for Austin and Houston. Okay, so I recommend something like my office's listings or my company's active listings. Those would be my suggestions because if you don't have a ton of listings and you chose my active listings, it could be blank, right? And we don't want that to happen on the homepage of your site. So just keep an eye on that. If you have a ton of listings, that's no problem. Go ahead and pick my active listings. So we're going to select from the drop-down our section or our selection, and then we're going to see that we can actually change the title of it. So if I wanted to be specific, I could say featured properties in Austin or active properties in Austin, however I see fit. But if you'd like to leave it as featured properties, that's a really great option. And then it's going to ask you how many properties you'd like to display. This will default to 20. I don't really recommend doing too many more. We all know we can get a little overwhelmed when there's too much information, too many properties going on. So I would keep it at 20 or fewer. Okay. So again, we're going to keep scrolling because these other elements are not super necessary for getting your site set up. And at the very, very, very bottom of the page is a blue publish button. Please don't forget to hit that. You've made all these selections. You've made your website look awesome. Please hit that blue publish button. And that will make sure that these all display and your changes are updated. Let's see, Russ, why are the properties the same on the homepage display? So Russ, you have an agent in your office that has a big listing that is listed as both land and residential with 2 MLS IDs. And I believe that is why your specific website would have that happening for yours. All right, great question though. If you ever see that, take a quick look at the MLS IDs and it's usually some strange new ones like that. Okay, so we're rocking and rolling, y'all. We just have one more section to cover. So we've done the home page, right? All those little selections we made are just about the home page, which is the page that we need to make the best first impression on. So now we're going to go to some of the internal site pages. And as you can see, we still have our left black menu bar of navigation. So I can easily jump over to the site pages now. So I'm going to click on site pages. And we're going to see every web page that makes up our website. Now, it can be a little overwhelming, but if you understand how it's structured, it makes it super simple. So you'll see that the categories or the verbiage on the far left, these are menu items at the top of your website. So home, properties, buying and selling, he added a Spanish page, there's an about page, etc. Anything indented, one beneath it, is going to be a drop-down page within that menu item. And these are really easy. You see when I'm hovering over, it's turning into a big crisscross. You simply click and drag them to turn them into, change the order of the drop-down or move the page within another drop-down. So it's very, very user-friendly. The thing I want to point out is there are a number of site pages on here that have the word hidden in parentheses. So I'm going to make my screen bigger. Hopefully y'all can see this. So next to my office's listings, for example, it has the word hidden. So that means this page is not currently displaying on his website. If I wanted it to display, there is a blue word that says show directly beneath this page. All I need to do is click show and wait a second, and it's going to refresh and save, and it's going to make that page visible. If I decide I do not want to show that page, I'm going to click the hide button. Okay, so you'll notice, I don't know why they put these check marks on here because everyone wants to click the check marks and they're really not used very often. So my tip to y'all is you don't actually have to do the checkbox. You just hit the blue show button or the blue hide button, and that will turn on and off your different pages. So we're gonna hit hide, and now it tells me it's hidden. Does that make sense? Pretty easy. It's just toggling on and off with show and hide, whether you want that page or not. So just like we saw before, there's a number of pre-made property pages that you get to decide whether or not you want to show on your website. And for example, your active listings. This is a page, so I think this is a great idea to include on here, as long as it's not front and center on your homepage. That way, when you do have active listings, it'll be super easy for someone to find them. Another favorite of mine are my sold listings. So this is supposed to pull in buy and sell side transactions from the MLS. If you do an off-market deal, it's not going to show up on here. But this is one feature we haven't had before in most of our metros, I believe. So this is something I'm really pumped about because I think it does a really good job showcasing you as an agent. So then the other important page, I'm going to scroll down, and underneath the About page is going to be a Testimonials page. Now, when y'all log in for the first time, your testimonial page will be hidden. And we don't want that, right? We want your great reviews to showcase you. We want someone to learn and hear what other people have to say about you. So please turn that on, right? We're going to hit the show button. And now your testimonial page will be active. However, we don't just want it active. That doesn't do us any good. We need to actually add content. So let me show you how to edit your testimonial page. You'll notice there's a teeny little blue edit button directly under testimonials. So I'm going to click that. And I'm going to let it load. And this is what it's going to look like. I have noticed some of the times it puts testimonials at the very top in all caps. And I am just like really picky about my design. So I have been changing it to be normal where just the T is capitalized and not in all caps because the rest of our site is not in all caps. So anyway, those are the funny nuances we experience. But what we do is we are going to go to a third-party site. So maybe you have your reviews on your current InTouch website. Maybe they're on your Google business page. Maybe you have them on your Facebook business page. Maybe they're on your Zillow page, right? So think of all the possible places someone could have left you an awesome review, and we're just going to be copy and pasting. Okay, so this is perfect to do while you're watching TV. It's kind of a mindless activity, a lot of just copy and pasting over your favorite reviews. Here are some tips for you. Your header is designed to be their name. So most agents and kind of best practice is to put in their first name. Oh, I still have my cap locks on, sorry. Their first name and their last initial. This is not required. This is just what we've seen as best practice. You could also, if they wanted to remain anonymous, you could just put seller, right? It doesn't matter. You could even put client. So however you want to identify them, think about it moving forward, right? You want to kind of be consistent. You don't have one that says Talia, one that says Talia V, one that says seller, you know, that can be a little odd. So think about that, be consistent. And your content, you're just going to paste in from their review. So Talia is amazing, whatever it may be. All right, we would paste that in. Just like before, we cannot make up our own reviews about ourselves. So I could not leave my review about Talia is amazing because that's a lie. No one told me that. But when we do leave our review and we have that in here, we have to do the checkbox. So we're saying that this person did in fact leave me this review and I did not make it up myself. And we have the opportunity to choose an image. So this is where I think it's super fun because most of us are active on social. So we either have a great closing picture of our clients at the closing table or in front of their new property, or we have the listing photo from the listing we took, right? So I recommend one of those things to kind of personalize the testimonial a bit more. So you can choose an image to associate with the testimonial, and then you click the blue add button. Once you've added them, they show up down here. So you can see he already has Kayla added. Once you've added everyone, you're going to hit the publish button and it will make it visible to the public. So quickly, I'm going to pop back over to the consumer view of the site. We're going to see under the About thing, we have the testimonials drop down. And now we have our first testimonial on here. So pretty easy, just lots of copy and paste. And I highly encourage you to get all of these from your various sources and have them added to your website.
How do we get the client to add their testimonial on here themselves?
Great question. So we don't actually want them to leave the testimonial on your website in the future. And I know that seems counterintuitive, but the reason being is there's a lot of other third-party sites, like the ones I listed before, that require an extra layer of validation. For example, y'all have probably gotten Zillow reviews before. They have to go in and say the exact property that they purchased or sold with you before Zillow will even let them leave a review. So Zillow is validating who they are. On Google Business Page, you have to have a separate Google account, right? You can't leave yourself a review on Google to be able to do that. And so it's much more valid and reinforcing when it came from a third-party site, because now you're going to have the review in 2 locations, if that makes sense. So if someone's Googling you, we want them to see that awesome review of you in whatever other location, and then you're just using that and putting it on your own website. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. But
Perfect.
now my follow-up question is, do we give cite, what's the word I'm looking for? How am I
Like a
asking that question?
citation for where it came from?
Yes. Are we
No.
citing where it came from? That's what I'm trying to ask.
No, that's not required on here. So you could if you wanted, but it's definitely not required. Good question, though.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions on the testimonial portion? No, makes sense. All righty. So our very, very last step, and I am so appreciative of you all staying with me through this whole demo. I know it's a lot, but is the publishing portion, right? That's the fun part. So when you've got your site ready to go, and I will say anyone in Austin knows my favorite saying is perfection is the enemy of progress. So your site will never be fully perfect, but it will look great. And I say go ahead and publish that thing because you have worked hard and you need something available for the public to see. So when you are ready to take the plunge, we would go back to admin home. And we're back on this home screen. So again, this home screen has everything we possibly need here. We are actually scrolling down to completing your site activation. Step 1, we need to make our site visible to search engines. What that means is until you tell Google that this is a valid website and you're ready for it to go to the world, it's not going to know, right? So you won't show up in search results. So we all default to having this box ticked when we first start with our website, right? Because we're still in edit mode. We're not ready for Google to know that this website is live. But when we're ready, we uncheck the box. So just like this, we don't want to discourage search engines, and we hit Save Changes. Okay, so that's the number one thing when you're ready to go live is uncheck this discourage box and hit Save Changes. So this will mean now that Google, they call it crawling your site and looking for good content. When someone is searching for something that you have the answer to, your website will now show up on the results, which is what we all want, right? We want to get some new leads from people searching our site and perusing what we have to offer. So I want to pause and clarify a couple questions. Oh, Alex, question.
The question that I'm having is, you talked about the vanity name, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
It's attached to InTouch, and InTouch is going away. Well, it doesn't go away, but we have to start paying for it at the end of May or June, whatever it is. If we, I know my question, but I don't know how to word it. Should we go ahead and put it over here? No, this is what I'm asking. Can we go ahead and publish the site now, this site now, and then put the vanity name later? Okay.
I feel like you're just reading my
question.
mind here. Oh my gosh, this is the next thing I was going to tell you. Thank you, Alex. You should just teach this class with me. I love it. You know all the next questions. Yes, so that is exactly what I was going to say. Right now, you would just have 2 websites, which is fine, right? One is going to say like alexconrad.com or whatever it is going to InTouch, but you're getting a different URL. So they're totally independent of each other. So what you do on one does not affect the other. So go ahead and publish this, and then we're going to send over the directions on how to move so that now when you go to alexconrad.com, it shows up on the Moxi site instead of showing up with the InTouch site. So it's a pretty smooth transition. There's a couple steps that you take. It's just forms you fill out, and that's what we'll email over. But that's exactly what it is. And so you'll notice when I click visit site on this agent's site, his domain name is Omar Ortega-CBUnitedAustin.sites, blah, blah, blah. So if you ever don't know what your new Moxi URL is, when you click on visit site and you're in the consumer view, this is how you find it. You look at the very top of your screen, and that's your new URL for now, until you choose to redirect it with another vanity URL that you might own. Awesome questions.
Thank you.
Let's see. We have a hand up. Layla, am I pronouncing your name right?
Leela, but that's
Leela, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. I have a quick question. Can you show again really quickly how to get to the reading settings again so you can make your page live?
Yes. So back on admin home. And then this home page, this little tab. If we scroll down under completing your site activation, it's number 1. Make your site visible to search engines. Did that work for you?
No.
So,
what do you mean by admin home? It's only see one home tab. There's another one?
Do you see the black bar on the left side?
Yes.
So did you click on home on the very top left corner? Okay.
Yes, you said admin home. I didn't know if that was different.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, it's just another way of saying it. It just says the admin tool at the top, so that's how I always call it. But and then when I scroll down on this right side, so I'm on home, just the right side of home, if I keep scrolling all the way down, it'll say completing your site activation.
Oh, I see.
And then number 1.
I got it.
It's just really far down if you have a small screen.
I see it now. Thank you so much.
Of course. Claudia, looks like you have a question.
Yes, I have a question. I already activate my site, but in InTouch. I need to change now to Moxi?
Yes, so In Touch we are moving away from by the end of June. So
Oh, okay.
starting in July, you'll choose to either pay for In Touch if you want, or you can use the free Moxi option. And so we'll be setting up our new Moxi website so that we can use that instead.
Oh, okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Yes, of course. Great question. Bob, does the site get optimized for various PDAs? Bob, I don't think I know what you mean by PDA. Can you please elaborate? Bob, did we lose you? Oh, tablets and phones. Yes, it is mobile friendly. And so if you open, if you wanted to check your website, you can grab your phone. Mine's kind of hidden. And you could scroll through it and it should be mobile optimized. So yes, this is built on what's called a WordPress platform, which is the standard for every single website that's being built moving forward. So most businesses use them. So they make it really user-friendly regardless of what device you're on. And Alex jotted in that In Touch will be $79 a month. That is correct. And there is an annual fee on top of that. So just be aware of that. Unless you really, really love In Touch, we highly recommend Moxi because it is awesome and it is covered by the company. Perfect, y'all. If you go to view your site in the search bar, it changes to another city. Sean, we have experienced that and we're not exactly sure why. The ones I've tested after like a day or two end up defaulting back to the correct location. So I don't know if once the site is active and Google crawls it and it identifies your location, then it's selecting it. But I unfortunately don't have the answer to that right now. So let me follow up with y'all on the search bar. So if anyone has that problem persist for more than a week after their site is live, please reach out to your marketing team and we'll figure out how to fix that. So we don't know at the moment why it's not doing it. But for example, when I'm here and I go in, I live in Round Rock. So it's hyper specific. It knows I live in Round Rock and this is someone else's site, right? It's not even generically Austin. So I think Google will learn your location and then fine tune it from there. But very good question. All right, I'm checking to make sure no one else's hand is up. I think we got all the questions. Anyone else want to come off mute or pop in the chat with any other Moxi website questions? No? Awesome. Well, again, thank y'all so much for your patience and for tuning in to learn more about your awesome Moxi websites. Again, I highly encourage you to attend an in-person workshop for the various Moxi trainings that are being offered across the different metros. So please connect with your marketing team if you're unsure of when those are being held. And we are going to continue offering these virtual classes that are led by your Texas marketing team for the foreseeable future, right? So this week we have 4 different classes. They're all at 2 p.m. Next week, the national team is actually teaching their final round of classes. And then the following week, it's back to your Texas team. So we would love for you to join and learn more about Moxi. Otherwise, enjoy your Monday.
Thank you, Talia.
Thank you all. I'm going to stop the recording and we will send that